Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Muddermaster here with his first ever video, and it's going to be on graffitis. And you might be asking me, Muddermaster, why would you want to fucking buy graffiti? And basically it all comes down to low supply. There's barely any supply, and I'll show you all the statistics of supply of CSGO Exchange. And whilst I was doing that, Anomaly came in and totally fucked me in the arse. So I'll also be talking about that as well. Now, just a quick note, this video is going to be pretty long. It's got a load of shit in it, so I've put some timestamps if you just want to skip around in the video. So, how did Muddermaster record all the graffiti supply numbers? Basically, what I did was, I went on CSGO Exchange, like how Jesus and OnlyPixel has done. I'll show it up on screen. There's a little pass you can buy for a few bucks. You buy that unless you want to spend like the rest of your life on CSGO Exchange. It can be pretty painful. So I did that, and you'll get like a search box or something. You put in the graffiti you want, you search for that graffiti in the search thing. Then you scroll down, there should be a number. Copy the number, go back to the search box, and you paste the number back in there. Then you search a graffiti again, and you just repeat that until it says, oh, it's out of parameters or whatever, there's no other graffitis. Boom, you've recorded them all. And I know this isn't fully accurate. There might be some graffitis which weren't listed on CSGO Exchange, but it's far better than just looking at the Steam market and just absolutely fucking guessing. Now, for some more reasoning why you should be investing in these bitches before we get into the supply statistics. Firstly, they're not reusable, they're usable. So when you open a graffiti, they're no longer tradable or marketable. Then also, they're discontinued. The only way you can get a graffiti is for a limited time in the major with a pass, and the graffitis aren't tradable or anything. So if you want to buy a graffiti right now, you have to buy it off the Steam market, one of these fucking graffitis. You can't go and get a new one somehow. And essentially just combining this with the low supply, it makes them pretty rare. Now also, to make the supply numbers a bit more accurate, what I've also done is I've accounted for the banned graffitis. So how I did this, I went and I found the graffitis which are banned on CSGO Exchange for FaZe and Fnatic for each major, and then I combined those two percentages and then applied that for every graffiti for that major. So for example, I get the percentage of graffitis banned for Fnatic and FaZe at Boston, and I combine those two so I get a percentage, and then I apply that to every other graffiti from that major. So essentially what this does is it saves me a shit ton of time, and it's still pretty accurate. Like, I've counted other ones and it's pretty accurate. Now we're starting the supply numbers off with ELEAGUE Atlanta. So ELEAGUE Atlanta was the first major where graffitis were introduced, and up until that point all they really had was stickers, signatures, and that's it. No gold stickers, no gold autographs, nothing much really. And pretty much this just makes graffitis being introduced a fairly significant thing in the trading community during the time, because there wasn't really any other investments. And to get an overall perspective of how the community was feeling about graffitis as an investment during the time, I've got this great Reddit thread by Dutch Idiot, the legendary investor, as you can see, and he's titled it Graffiti Potential. Then he goes on to say, my thoughts, a graffiti will be depleted after 50 sprays, hence the price will go up a lot, more than stickers. Fanboys will keep buying them until they reach the mental barrier of $1. Classic mental barrier of $1, everyone knows about it, or more. Alternative team stickers become available on market. For now, team graffitis seem like a safe investment to me. Please share your thoughts on team graffitis. Thanks. Now, from reading that, we can see Dutch Idiot, he's just in love with the graffitis. He just wants them. He's going to up the supply, but not everyone's like that. Sepp has responded to Dutch Idiot And he's just replied with a simple nope, so not everyone's in favour. And you know, Sap, he's not in favour of Dutch Idiot, and that's just his opinion, but Vogue 200, he's actually agreed. He said already 3 times the original price. So far the best investment from Atlanta. I personally haven't bought a single one, which obviously shows his commitment to the investment, and then says, and wonder now if Catalyst 2014 Nightmare is going to happen again. And I think what he means by that is just the overall similarity in price. Like, if you go and look at the similarities between the two right now, I can really see that Atlanta Graffiti's Catalyst 2014 stickers pretty much the same. Now, some people did speculate in the Reddit thread that the increases in graffiti price might be because of market manipulation, but that doesn't really matter now. And essentially this whole thing was just to show that during Atlanta, people actually did kind of think graffitis from Atlanta were a decent investment, so they'll kind of show in the supply numbers coming up. And unfortunately for these guys, the investment, just the short-term investment, it wasn't the greatest, it wasn't the best, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't RMR type shit, but it was mediocre at best. Now, here's the total supply for Atlanta. As you can see in the top right, 76,980. And that's not that great. It's not the worst one, but it's not that great. And you can also see Virtus Pro and Godsend at the top of supply numbers. So don't invest into those two either if you are investing into Atlanta, because they don't have teams in the top 30 at the moment. So it doesn't really have that great growth potential in my opinion compared to others. So now I'm going to go into the top 3 lowest supply graffitis from Atlanta, both just in general as well as those only in the hltv top 30 currently, as well as I'm also going to show a benchmark I made, which I'll explain a bit later when I get onto it. And here are the top 3 lowest supply graffitis from Atlanta just in general. Gambit, Hellraisers and Flipside all around 3600, and I'll give my general thoughts on which graffitis from Atlanta I think you should invest in if you were to, around the end of this kind of Atlanta segment. And here we have the top 3 lowest supply graffitis from Atlanta from only teams in the current hltv top 30. So we have G2, Mouse Sports and Liquid. Now the reason why it's important for them to be in the hltv top 30 currently is that people only buy graffitis, well not only, but mostly only buy graffitis when they use them to support their favourite team. And someone's favourite team's unlikely to be a team which hasn't played in years and is a total inactive org, so it's pretty crucial when considering which graffiti you want to invest in. And here is the benchmark I've been talking about, and you guys can create your own benchmarks or whatever to measure what you want to invest in. I'll link all the statistics and stuff I recorded down below in the description, but essentially what this benchmark measures is for every 1,000 Australian dollars you have, what percentage of the total supply you'll be buying for that $1,000. So it kind of shows how much purchasing power, how much bang for your buck, as they say, you're using when you're spending 1,000 Australian dollars. Or really any amount you're spending. It's all really about what the graffiti percentage is relative to other graffiti percentages. And this is important now, especially to avoid graffitis which have been inflated, because there's a lot of graffitis being inflated right now by Anomaly. And why you want to avoid that is, yes, firstly, you do want to be buying into one of the lower supply graffitis, but also you don't want to be buying into a lower supply graffiti at an inflated price. You want to be buying a graffiti at a reasonable price, and this shows basically, is the price reasonable for the graffiti you're buying? And basically really what you're trying to do is get the highest percentage possible. So in this case it's north with 20.3%, but this benchmark also doesn't account for demand elasticity, which is basically when a price changes, how much demand will change because the price change. I can't be bothered going any more in depth than that, but basically really what you need to remember throughout this video is supply is the team in the hltv top 30. This benchmark, you don't want to account like base your opinion solely off one of those. You want to be doing it off all three. If one's in all three of those categories, that's going to be much better than just one. And that applies to pretty much everything in investing, whatever benchmark you're using. It's pretty important, so just keep that in mind. So here we have North 20.3%, Gambit 17.9%, and SK was 17.1%. And we'll later see that these percentages get absolutely demolished by some of the upcoming newer majors. So yeah, these probably aren't the greatest. And here is the percentage of supply purchase per $1,000 for hltv top 30 teams only. So I have Mouse Sports, Fnatic, and Liquid for 12.8%, 9.7%, and 7% respectively. Now, it is important that they are in the hltv top 30, but I don't think it's really worth investing in these, in my opinion, because just the Atlanta supply is so much higher than Boston and London, as you'll see. So ending this with my overall opinions on Atlanta, just in general, I don't think it's that great. There's much better. You could possibly invest. There's some teams, maybe Hellraisers, if it's cheap enough. Maybe some of the hltv teams with low supply if they're cheap enough, but it's a bit more dangerous since the prices are higher than the other majors, yet it still has the second highest supply. So I think there's better options, but you can try if you want to. Now, another thing to put into consideration is Atlanta's probably the best looking graffitis out of any of the graffitis. I remember when Boston happened and the Boston stickers and all that, people graded Atlanta over Boston, but maybe the community's opinion has changed since then. I'm unsure, but it's just another thing to put in consideration when you're looking which graffiti you want to buy. Now moving on to PGL Krakow, probably the worst major for graffitis, unfortunately, since it has the highest supply, and it looks pretty terrible. So at least they have low prices, I think, which is warranted for how trash they are, but yeah. And also another thing I wanted to mention, the total demand volume is in the top right, which measures the total volume of graffitis which has just been sold on all the major marketplaces in the Steam market. Now, the total demand volume in the top right, it could be used for benchmarks, or it could also be used just to see if graffitis are actually selling. But for the next two majors, it's probably not that good to use because I recorded them post the Anomaly video, which totally destroyed the market. So probably not that great with them. Now here are the top lowest supply teams out of all of the Krakow graffitis. Now surprisingly, you might notice there's some top 30 teams in here, Na'Vi and G2. So if the price goes low enough on those could be decent investments. Gambit though, probably not. And here is the hltv top 30 lowest supply. So we got Na'Vi and G2 as we talked about, and also FaZe. Here we got the benchmark again, percentage of supply purchase per $1,000 for Gambit, Penta, and North. Gambit's at the top with 25.4, then Penta, and then North. The percentages here for the benchmark aren't really that great, as you'll see in the following majors. And here we got the percentage of supply purchase per $1,000 for top 30 teams. At the top's Big, then Mouse Sports, and then Fnatic, all around 14%, which isn't that impressive, so I probably would avoid investing in these. So, what are my overall thoughts on PGL Krakow? As I've kind of shown throughout PGL Krakow so far, I'm not too big of a fan of it. Too high supply, looks like shit. Not much more to be said. Maybe if you got like a top 30 team for a cheap price, that could turn out decent, but most of them pretty expensive at the moment. So, and here is where things start getting interesting. ELEAGUE Boston, and before we get into ELEAGUE Boston, I have to mention the Anomaly video, because this has totally destroyed the price of everything to do with ELEAGUE Boston. Now, I'm pretty tilted, I'm pretty triggered by the Anomaly situation, because about a week ago when it happened, I was making this video, I was spending fucking ages on this CSGO exchange site, just looking ages and ages at the supply numbers. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna invest into graffitis. I'm gonna put 500,000 bucks, maybe, I don't know how much in. And then I look the next day or whenever, graffitis, what the fuck? They've gone up so many times. And I'm like, what the fuck's happened? And then I see the next day this video by Anomaly or whatever on his clips channel. Only 30 of these exist. And that just made it even worse. It's like totally triggering me. Because first of all, somehow my investment's just gone completely fucked. And then he's done it with a bullshit title. Because it says 30 of these exist. Actually, only 1,430 of these exist. It's like saying I go on eBay and I look for Donald Trump Art of the Deal. Because there's like however many, let's say there's 5 Donald Trump Art of the Deals on eBay. That doesn't mean there's 5 Donald Trump Art of the Deals in existence. That's just so fucking dumb. And basically what this has led to is every single graffiti in the game, well not every single one luckily, but a lot of the Boston, there was a lot of good deals on Boston. Now they're just all not worth buying into because Anomaly's just destroyed all the prices on them. Like I saw at one point, Team Liquid, I'll get it up on screen, over $2,000 for a Boston Team Liquid because of the video he posted. Now I don't know who the people are who are buying these for such high prices, but I can tell you for sure they're not very smart. I don't know why they're buying them. Like, and you see this all the time when YouTubers say to buy things or whatever. Obviously, they're talking about at the price they're currently at. Why do you guys, whoever you are, you fucking dumb cunts, stop buying them at such high prices? You're just destroying the market. And they keep buying them, and I don't understand why they keep buying them. But luckily for you, you're watching the Muddermaster channel. You're not watching the Anomaly Clips channel and buying them for inflated prices. So I'll show you some good deals which aren't destroyed by Anomaly. For the Boston ones mostly, as you'll see, the prices are pretty high and maybe they'll probably be worth investing into in a few months. But at the moment, they're probably not because he's just totally destroyed them. And he has totally triggered me. Now, I really could go on about this Anomaly video for ages. Like, even the fucking thumbnail's wrong. 100 Thieves has lower supply than Tyloo, so that's another bullshit thing. But I'm finishing it now. We're moving on to Boston. So here's the Boston supply right here. I might variate it because I've split it up between Legends and Challenges as well. But basically you can see Cloud9 super high, and then Tyloo and 100 Thieves is low as fuck. 100 Thieves has got the lowest, then Tyloo, and then all the rest are way lower than the first 2 majors, Atlanta and Krakow. And that's basically because in Boston they introduced the minor challenges, which added an extra 8 teams with graffitis and stickers, and that led to people spending their money more spread over the entirety of stickers and graffitis, which led to less average supply per graffiti. So they have less supply than the first 2 majors due to that reason. Now here's the lower supply just in general for Boston. Got 100 Thieves, Tyloo, SK and G2. And yeah, you can see 100 Thieves and Tyloo are pretty low supply because of the incident where they couldn't make it or whatever in the capsules and all that. I might make a video on that later. And here's the lowest supply for the top 30 teams. So we have G2, Na'Vi, Liquid and Astralis. And then as you can see, they're all about 2,400, 2,200. So they're all pretty low compared to the previous ones. Here is the percentage of supply purchased per $1,000 for Boston just in general. First we have Quantum Bellator Fire. The only notable thing about Quantum Bellator Fire is their player who's now inactive for some reason. And then, yeah, Vega Squadron, Big and Space Soldiers. Space Soldiers might be decent since it's like one of the major and only Turkish teams to ever happen in CSGO. and Big is a current team, so that's also kind of interesting as well. And here is the top 30 teams percentage of supply purchase per $1,000. So we have Big with 29.6, and that's pretty decent, to be honest. Yeah, Big is an interesting one from Boston at the moment. And then Mouse Sports, Sprout, and Fnatic. And Fnatic is an interesting team. Maybe it might be better at London, I think it might be. But Fnatic's an interesting team because I feel like it has potential growth as it grows in hltv rating. Now, what are my overall thoughts for ELEAGUE Boston? My overall thoughts is Anomaly can suck my balls. I don't actually hate him, I just don't like the fact that he manipulated the market, but his videos are great. It's triggered me. But actually for Boston, I would say the prices are so high right now that it's probably best to wait. Like, don't be one of the NPC motherfuckers who are buying shit right now and inflating the prices. Wait a few months and then buy. And finally, Faceit London, and in my opinion, the best. Like, probably Boston was best before Anomaly destroyed everything. But now, Faceit, probably the best. You could probably still wait a bit and then buy because prices would be even lower, because even Faceit's not exempt from Anomaly's fucking cancer he's put on the whole market. But if you wait a bit, this is definitely a great investment. Now, Tyloo's pretty high since the other one's super expensive. It could still be decent for people who don't want to pay $20 for Tyloo. NIP is pretty cool as well, because NIP is the only major which NIP, which is a pretty big org, has a graffiti in. So any NIP fans, they have to buy this graffiti. So this is a kind of cool one as well. Now on to the lowest supply for London. Now Gambit 1,780 is actually pretty good. Like at the moment, Gambit is the third lowest supply graffiti, only about 300 or 400 away from Tyloo, and it costs maybe 1/20th, 1/30th of the price. So I feel like Gambit's really underrated right now. Spirit is also kind of interesting because they actually do have a team. You might not recognize the logo, but yeah, they just changed their logo, but it's the only Spirit one in existence, and it has the lowest supply, so that's also kind of cool. And here's the top 4 lowest supply for hltv top 30 teams. I've already talked about Spirit. Complexity is pretty cool. It's the only complexity one, any graffiti for complexity. So that's an interesting one. You could invest into that. And Fnatic is also cool, as I've talked about. Now, here's the percentage of supply purchased per $1,000 for London just in general. And I think Gambit's probably the best out of here. You can notice I like Gambit because it's such a low supply and it's so cheap. But if that goes too high, Renegades might be interesting. Renegades still has a team, believe it or not, in Australia. Maybe one day they won't be dog shit. So you never know. And any of these other teams, just anything in London, it has potential. And here is the percentage of supply purchase per $1,000 for hltv top 30 teams. Now, Mouse Sports, I also didn't mention this previously, they've changed logo, so that might impact it. And so has Complexity also. And Fnatic, but Fnatic's pretty much the same. So with teams that have changed logo, that might impact it. So you might also have to take that into consideration. Now, out of all of these teams, they all have potential here. Any of these teams I feel like have potential because they're all low supply and they're pretty cheap. So, as I say, Faceit London, pretty bussin', pretty good. And my ending thoughts on Faceit London, absolutely beautiful. Lots of potential in Faceit London. And as I've said, pretty much any are good. Any here. You know, maybe not obscure teams like Windstrike, avoid those, but other than those obscure teams, they're all pretty good. And also I forgot to mention Total Supply. Faceit London has the lowest total supply as well. So now just ending thoughts on all graffitis in general. Which one should you buy? I say, really, London's probably the best at the moment, since Anomaly's like inflated the price so bad on Boston. But if Boston gets back, Boston could be really great. And then I probably wouldn't fuck with Krakow unless you can like get a hltv top 30 team for a decent price. And Atlanta has potential as well if you can get it for cheap enough, because those are probably the best looking stickers. But overall, Faceit London at the moment, and Boston if it gets cheap enough. Those are the main two for me. If you want to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. The Mudder Master worked very tirelessly on this video, so I'd be very appreciative. And yeah, just thanks for watching. Goodbye guys, goodbye Mudder family.